The MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gam Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is giving away $15 million in Best Ball Mania 5. Sign up with the promo code MLB SGPN. They're going special pick a first-time deposit offer up to $5 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code MLB SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm has the best AI picks and projections, and their college football product about to drop. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportscampodcast.com. Rhythm, sportscampodcast.com/RITHMM. And welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gam Podcast Network. It is currently Wednesday afternoon, roughly 5 p.m. Eastern Time on July 24th. We are here to preview the Thursday games. Bit of a smaller slate on Thursday. I believe there are 8 games on the card. I'm your host of this episode, Scott Reichel, joined by Dylan. And together we are going to break down all 8 of the Thursday games. Dylan, how's it going with you? I can't really talk trash about your team because your team owns my team this season. How's it going with you?
It's going well. You know, I was going to bring it up, but we talked about it before we went live. Yeah, I mean, we're doing good, the Mets so far. And, it's always good when we have day baseball. You and I were talking, got your lock in there yesterday on yesterday's pod with the Rockies and the Red Sox over. So it's always nice having some day baseball. It's always better when the Braves lose, in my opinion.
Well, the Braves have not been playing great recently. I know they ended up losing pretty handily. They kind of punted the game based on who they were actually using to start today. But I had the over in the Red Sox game as my lock, cash, and I think it was 4 innings, and that was never in doubt. It was also kind of a funny win because I was so distracted by tennis today for the tennis podcast that I forgot the Red Sox game started at like 2 or 3 o'clock. So I basically won before I even realized the game was taking place, which is always kind of a fun feeling. But I just woke up with more money. It was just a good feeling. But either way, definitely nice to have a lot of baseball games in the afternoon. Kind of wish we had more of these. I understand people work a 9 to 5 and they can't exactly follow, but I do enjoy when you have more than one game or like 0 games in the day spot. Because right now in the summer, I know we got the Olympics officially starting today, actually, with Team USA Soccer getting their asses kicked. What else is new? But the point is, I do think that there should be more day baseball. Why not? Like, what are you competing with? You have WNBA, which is off for a month. Olympics are going to have random events during the afternoon. You can't really prevent that. But why are there not more days with just like 4 or 5 baseball games at like 1 or 2 o'clock?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, especially in these dog days of summer when, the Olympics is only every other 2 years. So during these days where there's nothing on besides, I guess, training camp news, there's nothing on. To have a couple games, especially Wrigley. I don't know if you've ever been out to Chicago, but a day baseball game in Wrigley is the best. So, yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think there should be more day baseball.
It's actually every 4 years because the Olympics for the winter wouldn't even overlap.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So exactly. I just feel like it's kind of bad planning, but it's a happy accident because we ended up getting a bunch of games before travel day, which is kind of nice. Any takeaways, though, you want to mention over the last couple of days or from today? Anything you want to talk about?
No, not really. I mean, besides, I know the NL wildcard race between, what is there?
Between half the National League?
Yeah, I was just going to say like 6-7 teams. I mean, they're battling between 4 games with the Braves. Not playing good. They've lost 4 in a row now. So not doing well. Mets creeping in on them. And a lot of people are high on the Giants making a run. I don't see it.
I don't get it. I don't think the team's any good.
I don't either. Their bullpen is awful. I don't understand why a lot of people are bought in on them. But, we'll talk about them and a little others. But, that NL wildcard race is going to come down to the nitty-gritty these next few months.
Yeah, I remember the 2 wildcard picks that I had for the second half preview show, which we ended up doing with Lonte and with Mal. I took the Mets and I took the Diamondbacks. I think those were the 2 that I ended up taking to get a wildcard spot. The Giants, I understand the price. I pass. I don't think they're any good. The team screams to me like below 500 end of the year. Yeah. Like they're just going to be like 78 and 84. I just don't think they're very good. Mets, I think, are actually in good shape. Didn't they buy at the deadline?
I think they have to. They have a really relatively easier schedule this second half of the season. I think they need to go out and get an arm, especially in the bullpen as well. I think the bullpen's they're the weakest spot they have.
It was a lot worse, to be fair. It was a lot worse for the first couple of months. So you're telling me you're not an Ottavino guy?
No, he's actually the worst. I'm so glad you brought him up because when they brought him in yesterday, I was just looking at my father like, why do they bring this fucking guy in? But yeah, no, I'm actually off of Adam Ottavino. I thought they should have got rid of him last season.
Yeah, as a Yankees fan, I wasn't a big Ottavino guy, but Diekman did a good job closing the game for you yesterday.
Surprisingly, he did good and walked Judge 4 times. I mean, at this point, you just have to walk him.
I am kind of wondering, though, if it actually makes sense to live bet the Judge walk like per plate appearance, because I'm sure you get a decent price. They weren't even pitching to him for the
No.
first 4 at-bats,
I
so keep
mean,
that in mind.
yesterday his walk prop was just a half. It was minus 210 to the over. You got to imagine put an alternate line over there. It's worth it at this point
They're not
because
going to put that, but I'm saying you can actually
yeah.
bet on the outcome of particular plate appearances.
Oh
You might
wow.
be able to bet walk on those
Oh
potentially,
yeah,
but
exactly.
just as
They're
a
not
thought.
only two guys you don't pitch to in the league, in my opinion. It's Shohei and it's Aaron Judge right now.
Pretty much. I mean,
Yeah.
you could argue Shohei's on a, I don't want to say a different tier than Judge right now, but it's just stupid how good Shohei's been for the
It's
last couple of,
ridiculous.
really the entire year. Judge had the phenomenal month and a half, 2 months. He has kind of cooled off a bit, but part of that's because they're pitching around him all the time. But before we get into any of the actual games for Thursday, do want to remind you once again that we do have the featured show of the week, which is actually this show, which is kind of awkward. So welcome if you are joining. I can't really promote the show when we're already on the show. But if you need more picks for the MLB season, you came to the right place. I hit my lock already, and I didn't even realize the game was going on. So there you go. Point is, though, besides the MLB show, you also have the college football experience, which is previewing 134 teams, which is exhausting by the sound of it. So, I mean, I don't know how Kobe and guys do it. They're just constantly in the college swing of things, either for basketball or for football. I guess that's the silver lining, is that they're previewing 130 plus teams for football, but it's 300 plus teams for college. So I guess it could be worse for basketball. Point is, though, check out the college football experience if you do want your college football previews. Also, a reminder, check out the podcast on the network, no matter what the actual show is. We have podcasts basically for everything. Subscribe wherever you do get your podcasts and on the SGPN app. Anyway, so time to get into the actual slate for the Thursday games. First game's going to be between the Padres and the Nationals. A bunch of day games again, so not complaining about it, but you have 2 games at noon Eastern time. Padres taking on the Nationals. You have Cease taking on Corbin, which looks like a massive pitching mismatch on paper, because Cease has been very good lately, and Corbin was actually decent last time out, but he's still not very good. A 2-9, 5.35 ERA. Padres are around minus 180 on the money line. The Nationals are around plus 150, and the over/under in this game is set at 9 or 8.5. So Cease has been walking out, has been striking double-digit guys in basically every start for the last couple outings. Corbin, though, was decent last time out, but he's probably going to go 5 or 6. The Nationals might also trade half the bullpen. I'm just not sure when they're going to trade half the bullpen, but it's going to happen. So minus 180 for San Diego. I hate the price, but I understand it. I think I'm taking San Diego first 5-run line. I really can't go against Cease right now, and I know that I've roasted him for a couple months, calling him a bit of an overrated pitcher. I got to at least go by recent form. Cease has been incredible, and I do think the Padres' offense is probably better than the Nationals on paper, slightly at least. But with the pitching mismatch here, I got to go San Diego first 5-run line.
Yeah, I'm going to start with a total here. I'm going to go under 9. My total came out to 8.4. You know, the Padres, they've been playing a lot of unders recently, 7-3 in their last 10 towards the under, 4 straight actually towards the under. Only 1 run given up the combined 3 games. So bullpen, you're right, they've been better. Pitching's improved as well. And Patrick Corbin, you know, he's kind of up and down, but he didn't pitch all that bad in his last start against San Diego. Only 3 runs given up in that game. The bullpen wound up blowing it wide open for them. So I don't know. I kind of like the under. The Padres, they typically don't hit lefties all that well. And you mentioned Dylan Cease. He's been lights out. He shut down the Nationals in his last start. So he did have a bumpy July, but he's really come around his last 2 starts, 7 scoreless innings against the Nationals, like I mentioned. So I think we're going to kind of see a similar game like we did in game 1 on Tuesday night, kind of like a 4-0, maybe 4-1, 4-2 type game. So I'm going to take the under here, under 9.
Yeah, I don't mind the under as well. I saw the Nationals bring in a guy out of the bullpen yesterday with an 81 ERA, though, so I'd rather take the first 5 if I had to choose. But the point is, Cease in his last 2 starts has been phenomenal. Yeah. 13 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 21 strikeouts. I can't really go against that. He's currently leading the league in strikeouts, so keep that in mind. He might be the leader at the end of the year, so that is one area he excels in. Maybe strikeout props. I'm assuming they're going to be very juiced, though, based on the last 2 outings, so you might not get much value on that. But you mentioned Corbin giving up 3 in his last outing in San Diego. That's good enough for me. If he can give up 2 or 3, I'm probably in good shape with the first 5-run line. So give me San Diego minus the half in the first 5. Moving on to the next game, you have a matchup between the Orioles and the Marlins. We saw the Marlins actually win the first game. of the series. For this one, you have a pretty interesting pitching matchup as you have Burns going up against Munoz. For this one, the Orioles are minus 275 on the money line. Munoz and the Marlins are plus 225, and the over-under is 8 or 7.5. I understand Baltimore lost the first game, and I understand that Burns is really good. Can I really lay to? I just can't do it. The run line's the only thing that's interesting, and I can't even take it because they're the road team, so you're not even cutting off that much juice out of it. So the only question that you have is, do you like the Marlins or do you like an over or an under? That's kind of what you're looking at. I'll go with the over in this game. I think Burns is solid, but I do think he's obviously a lot better at home than on the road. And Burns is still giving up some runs. He gives up maybe like 1 or 2. I can see that happening. I think that Munoz is objectively bad, so I think he might get torched. I will point out, though, Burns is still the worst pitcher in the league at preventing stolen bases. I think Miami can steal some bases and generate some extra chances with guys on base. So I am going to go with the over in this game. 7.5 feels a bit low. I think Miami can contribute enough to help send the game over. Give me the over 7.5.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. On the same side. Not a ton of value here taking the Orioles, even on the run line. Maybe if you're a parlay person, you put them in one of your parlays, but you saw the Marlins take game 1, so might be a little worrisome. I agree. I took the over. I saw 8, but if you could get a 7.5, that's amazing as well. I saw a team total over 4.5 for the Orioles minus 135. I like that. I'm just not a fan of Munoz. You know, he's a complete fade for me at home. He gives up a ton of hard contact. Walks are an issue for him. You just can't do that against this lineup. Top 10 lineup in the league. They're going to make you pay. So, yeah, like you mentioned, it was a good win for the Fish on Tuesday night, but the Orioles, they're still producing a lot of runs, even in their losses. They're averaging 5.33 runs per game on the road. So I think this is a good spot for the Orioles to get their bats kind of going a little bit on the road. So I agree. I see 8s at even money if you want some plus money. My total, like I said, my total came out to 8.4. So I like the over, and I like the over team total for the Orioles as well.
Yep, I agree. I think we'll do one more game before taking a break. So the next game, we're going to talk about an AL Central matchup where you have the Tigers taking on the Guardians. For this one, it's kind of an interesting matchup because the Guardians did win the last game, but we have seen Cleveland kind of fall apart recently, while Detroit's been quietly good, right in time for them to potentially trade half the team. But for the actual matchup here, you have undecided against the Guardians. And we still have lines. We have the Guardians at about minus 180. We have the Tigers at around plus 150. And the over-under in this game is currently set at 8. First glance, I'm going to lean to the over. Williams gives you no length at all, so I am kind of wondering how well he's going to pitch. I don't think he's that good either. It's a separate story. As for the Tigers, I don't know who's pitching because they're once again linked to trading some guys, and maybe it's going to be like Maeda. I don't know who's going to start in this game, so I have no idea. I'll lean to the over, though. I think 8's a bit low. I don't trust Williams. I don't know who Detroit's going to use, but it's probably not a good option. I'll lean to the over.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's going to be Joey Wentz, kind of like a spot start bullpen type day for...
He got his ass kicked last time out in like an inning in the third or so.
So it's perfect for the over. Yeah, so I love the over. I said if it is Joey Wentz and Gavin Williams, I said my total at 8.9. So, yeah, I love the over 8. I'm not high on Joey Wentz. It's not good for the Tigers. He got rocked. He barely made it to the second inning in his last start. You know, Gavin Williams is, I guess, better than Joey Wentz, but I don't think that's saying much. Say what you want about Gavin Williams, but he did go 5 scoreless innings against this Tigers team. He just couldn't get any run support. I mean, that was the problem. I don't expect that to happen again. You got to imagine this lineup kind of waking up for the Guardians. They haven't come out of the second half offensively really good, 3-7 their last 10. So hopefully they figure out sooner than later. So I only made the Guardians a minus 160 favorite if it is this matchup. So I'm going to stay away from the side. I agree. I'm going to play the total over 8 here.
I'm with you on the side, though. Cleveland just has not been good enough offensively recently for me to want to lay 180, no matter who's pitching. And Williams, I don't think is that great. So I like the over instead, which I know is ironic or hypocritical because I just said Cleveland hasn't been hitting and I still like the over. But the point is I don't trust either pitching option for this matchup. And Detroit's been pretty good offensively recently. So I don't mind the over in that one. Before we get into any of the other games on the card, I do want to remind you once again that we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy because they just launched their Underdog Streaks. Hit your first 2 pick'ems and then go streaking. If you can get an 11-0 run, you can win 1,000 times your money. Sounds like a fun time. Plus, Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. You can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. And I'll probably end up using a bunch of Olympic basketball stuff for underdog or some baseball stuff. Anytime JD Davis is playing, take the lower half a hit. That's my advice for you if you are going to be looking for baseball options. Sign up with the promo code MLB SGPN to claim your special beginning first time deposit offer up to $2 bonus cash on a fantasy promo code MLB SGPN. We're also brought to you by Game Time. So Game Time is back, and a reminder, they have a lot of great options for overall sports tickets, and they are officially an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices and views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes all the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. My favorite feature is definitely the image of seat views. I'm sure we've all been there before. We buy a ticket, we think it's going to be nice. You sit down, there's a poll in front of you, and you realize you spent money on a game you can't actually watch because your view's obstructed. That will not happen with this platform because Game Time gives you the ability to preview the view you would be getting before you actually spend your hard-earned money, which is definitely a great feature. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code SGPN to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code SGPN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Just finished going through the first couple games for the Thursday card. Time to keep it rolling with a matchup between the Rangers and Double-A team and the White Sox. For this one, you have the Rangers, the massive favorite. They're about minus 255, and the White Sox are around plus 210. For the over-under in this matchup, you have the line being set at 8 or 8.5. Scherzer's pitching against Cannon. Yeah, the White Sox are one of the worst teams I've ever seen. I said in the first month of the season they'd lose 120 games, and they are well on their way. They are god-awful. Nothing really else to say about it. They might lose 80-plus games before the start of August, which is pretty tough to do. Anyway, for the sake of this actual matchup, the White Sox, of course, are either going to be chosen as a dog play or you like Texas minus 1.5. There's nothing in between. I'm not taking the White Sox, though. They've lost 8 straight. They are terrible offensively. Scherzer has not been great recently, though, but neither is Cannon. So you can make an argument that both pitchers are not exactly great, which might result in an over. But the White Sox can't hit. So I guess I'm leaning to Rangers minus 1.5.
Scott, I think you're right. This might be one of the worst teams, especially I've ever seen. I mean,
we've seen tanking teams. These are worse.
Yeah.
Like the Orioles teams from a couple years ago were really
good.
Like
2018, I think they went like 47 and something, or even the year before, I think it was, or maybe the year after, it was the Detroit Tigers. I think they were like 47 and 115, but this team is going to be way worse. Boring pick, but I agree. I'm going to continue to fade the White Sox here. I'm going to take it's a boring play. Rangers run line minus 105. It's not so much a bet on Max Scherzer because, like you said, I don't think he's been that good. But it's a more fade on Cannon, Jonathan Cannon, who's been unbackable on the road this season. White Sox are 0-5 in Cannon's 5 road starts, and 4 of those 5 games, they did lose by 2 or more runs. And 7 of his losses, 6 of them have come by more than two or more runs. So the White Sox stay checked out. They're about to be sellers next week or this week, so I can't back them even at this price. I mean, you could give me plus 240, I still won't take them at this point. So minus 105, I'm going to take the Rangers here on the run line.
Yeah, for the record, the White Sox have 59 games left in the season. They need to win. Let me just do the math quickly. That's 103. Yeah, so they need to win 16 more games to avoid 120 losses. I'm not sure they get there. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So let's see what happens.
And it doesn't even sound like a lot of games to win. That's the thing.
No, it's not. They have to win 16 of their last 59. So not exactly a great idea since they've only won 27 of their first 103. But the White Sox, by the way, I mentioned it yesterday. Maybe I'll recycle it. I wasn't totally sold on it yesterday, but their actual team totals at 2.5 now because of where the total's located and how big the money line is. I don't mind the White Sox team total over 2.5 if you want to fade Scherzer. I don't hate it. They're a road team getting 9 at-bats. Is the team terrible? Absolutely. Is their lineup any good? Absolutely not. But 2.5 for a team total, as the road team and Scherzer's not been great, I don't hate it.
No, I think they could get 4 runs as well. No, I agree.
Yep. I see the best price, according to Geo, is the Rangers minus 1.5 at minus 118 on FanDuel. Moving on to the next game, you have the Rays taking on the Blue Jays. The series sounded a lot better back in like April. Either way, though, you have Bradley going up against Bassett. The Rays are about minus 115. The Blue Jays are minus 105. Both teams not really good. Rays are over 500, and the Blue Jays are probably about to trade half the team. Tampa might too, though, because they're extremely poor, and they always try to trade people and be sellers at the deadline. The question, though, for the over-under, you have about 8 or 7.5. Bradley's been really, really good. That's basically the entire source of my handicap here. I'll go with Tampa. Bassett, I will point out, has been fine at home, 4.14 ERA. Not been great lately, though. He has allowed 12 runs in his last 3 starts. So I think Bradley's actually phenomenal. I think he's turned into one of the most underrated pitchers in baseball, based on how he's done for the last month or so. Give me Tampa.
Yeah, I felt like this game was kind of one of the harder games to handicap on the short slate, but I agree. I'm going to take the Rays here. I only made them a minus 110 favorite, so anything under that, I think is a good play on them. You know, I've sworn off the Blue Jays, and plus Chris Bassett, he's been awful in the month of July, especially at home. 3+ runs given up in all 3 games in this month. I'm still not back in the Blue Jays. Them and the Cardinals, I'm kind of still fading right now. They're under 500 at home. They have one of the worst bullpens in the American League, if not the worst. They're about to sell everyone, like you said. So, and like you said, Bradley, he's looked really good this past few games. So I think the Rays are the better team. I don't know if they'll be sellers at the deadline, but I do think this is a good spot for them. So I'll take them on the money line.
I think Tampa's in a very weird spot, just based on the actual standings and the history of the team, because we know this has always been one of the cheapest run organizations in the entire league. Yeah. So I'm curious what they're going to do, because right now they're 1 game over. Toronto's out of it. You know, Toronto's going to blow up the team. So that's already a foregone conclusion. Tampa, though, historically speaking, tends to either get a very cheap veteran bench bat, which never works, or they try to trade some guys like, I mean, this was during like the offseason with Glass now, for example. And they just realized we have guys that are owed a lot of money in the future. Might as well get rid of them now. So Tampa right now is 4.5 back of a wild card spot, but they are still behind Seattle and Boston and Kansas City right now is in possession of the last spot. So it depends if Tampa's going to do anything or if they're just going to let it ride and see what happens. But with the Yandy situation now, who no one knows when he's coming back or what his story is, of course, the Wander Franco situation, I don't know what they're supposed to do because they're missing their best 2 hitters, and they didn't get any type of reinforcements or replacements for them at all. So I don't know what they're supposed to do. It really comes down to if you think Yandy comes back anytime soon, because I'm curious if the front office looks at the actual roster now. I don't care how they've been winning games. Their lineup's terrible. If you just look at their actual lineup, it's especially like 5 through 9, it's a terrible lineup, especially with Yandy being out of the lineup. The point is, I'm curious if the recent Yandy situation will cause this team to sell.
I think this organization is not one to go out and spend a lot of money either. So you got to think they're going to go like what you said and just kind of play it out, play the season out and see what they got and maybe make a move in the offseason. Because even though they're 4.5 games out, they got Seattle in front of them. They got Boston, who I think is going to make the playoffs as well. So I don't. Kansas City as well. Minnesota. Say what you want about Minnesota. They're still a better team than Tampa Bay. Yeah, I don't think they make the playoffs either. I think they're just going to stick with what they got and kind of ride off into the season.
Yep. I'm not sure they're going to do anything either. They're not going to buy. They never buy.
No.
The question is, are they going to try to stay afloat? They might. But the back end of that lineup, that's not good enough to make the playoffs.
No.
Just full disclosure there. So I like the under in this game, but I think Bradley's been great. And Toronto, I'll tell you what, I've had a good read on Toronto all year because I hate that team. So I just constantly fade them on the show. And they're 10 under. So they've actually done me quite well. I remember last year, I completely just wrote them off. I just said, no matter how good they are, I'm just not betting on them. And they've been bad. So that's kind of been my saving grace for Toronto this season. Moving on, though, to the next matchup. You have the Giants and the Dodgers. Dodgers have actually done quite well in the series so far. Fun pitching matchup, though. You have Logan Webb pitching against Clayton Kershaw, who's finally making his season debut. We know Webb, historically speaking, is a lot better at home than on the road. Seems like he pitches against the Dodgers 17 times a year. Kershaw, though, making his first start back. We'll see how he does. The Dodgers are minus 155. Giants are plus 150. And the over-under in this game is set at around 8.5. I know Kershaw is making his first start back, and there's a lot of question marks there. I think 8.5 is too high. I'll lean to the under in this game.
I'm going to take the Dodgers here, minus 144. I think it's a fair price where we could still back them. You know, my number, I only made them a minus 145 favorite, so it's right at my number. I think the total seems spot on. I made my total 8.3, so a little lean to the under as well. You know, I feel like I didn't make Kershaw and the Dodgers a big favorite because this is his first start of the season. Usually I like to fade pitchers or just kind of observe them in their first start of the season to see how they could do down the road. But Dodgers are playing really well right now. They're scoring a ton of runs. Bullpen has looked much better. And like you mentioned on the top, Logan Webb is just the guy I want to back at home, not really on the road. He got rocked in his last start on the road against the Rockies. Now against the Dodgers team who they just have a bunch of success against him. I just don't think this is a good spot for him or the Giants. Even in Kershaw's first start, I still think the Dodgers should win this game comfortably. Giants, not a good team on the road as well. They have an awful bullpen. And like I said earlier, I just don't understand why people like this team to sneak into the playoffs. I don't think they're good at all. So I'm going to take the Dodgers here, minus 144.
Yeah, I do want to read off the offensive numbers for the Giants, which is why I do like the under in this game. These are the runs scored for the Giants recently. 2-2, 3-3, 3-3-2. That's what they've done for the last week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll pass. They scored 2 in the first 2 games of the series. Kershaw might not be amazing. I think he should be fine in this matchup. And I know Logan Webb has not been great historically against the Dodgers. He hasn't been god-awful. Like, I think he can handle giving up some runs, like maybe 6 innings, 3 runs, something like that. Dodgers also, if they're winning, they're not going to bat in the bottom of the ninth. So that saves you half an inning right there. But I'll lean to the under. I think 8.5 is too high.
Does it confuse you that, or does it, I guess, wonder you that more people are on the Giants to make the playoffs than like the Diamondbacks, for example? That confuses me.
It's all about price. I mean, the argument for Arizona is if you were going to take them to make the playoffs, you should have done so a month or two ago.
Oh, 100%.
Right before they went on the run. So there's always a little bit of FOMO that happens when it comes to betting, because anytime you end up missing out on a massive price. I'll give you an example with Olympic basketball last night. But the point is, anytime you miss out on a massive price, then you're going to be a bit more reluctant to take the current price because you already missed the boat. And for example, yesterday, Evan Fournier for France was like plus 700 to have 15 plus points. I'm talking to Adam at Hey Rosenberg, and we're talking on Zoom yesterday, like we always do, about upcoming Olympic basketball games. So he tells me, like, oh, yeah, I like Fournier. I like 15 plus points. I'm like, all right, sure. He takes a lot of shots. France doesn't have any shooters. Fine with me. So I turn around, and it goes from 7-1 to plus 450 in the span of about 5 minutes. It dropped $2.50. So the question is, do you take it at 440 or do you ignore it? He's already missed $2. I chose to ignore it because I already missed the value. So some people feel that way about futures in baseball. If you could have gone to Arizona to make the playoffs a month ago at 4-1, do you really want to take him now at plus 140? Most people would probably tell you no. So the main reason why people like the Giants, it was 3-1.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Real quick on the Olympics, do lines change that quick?
I have a pretty funny screenshot from FanDuel yesterday. We also talked about Giannis. He told me that Giannis's points were at 16.5 to play Canada this weekend. I took it. 20 minutes later, his line's 22.5.
Wow.
The line moved 6 points in the span of 20 minutes. So yes, Olympic basketball lines are crazy. Same thing with WNBA. Not to that same degree, but of course the limits are going to be a lot smaller for Olympic basketball, and you might be able to catch the odds makers falling asleep. Yeah. Olympic lines should move pretty heavily very quickly. So if you do want to end up getting some action on player props especially, you should probably be early because those lines are going to move very, very heavily.
Yeah.
But that's a basketball segue. But it goes back to line movement again, because anytime you're picking a future or a long shot, every single second you wait or miss out on, at some point it's not worth chasing. The value might be great at Diamondbacks 4-1, but 160 you don't feel great about. Giants might not be a great bet at 150. At 3-1, maybe you don't mind it, but I do. I don't think the Giants are any good.
Yeah, so I agree.
All right, moving on to the next game on the slate. You have your team taking on the Braves. For this one, the Mets are, well, right now in good form. So we'll see if they can keep that rolling on Wednesday and Thursday. For this matchup, though, you have Severino against nobody. Now, we don't know who's pitching for the Braves because they used a made-up pitcher today that did not go well. The Mets, though, are probably going to be either a slight favorite or a slight dog. I'm assuming it's going to be like minus 120 either way. I have no idea. I'm going to lean to the Mets. I don't mind Severino, and I don't know who's pitching for Atlanta, but the Mets are in good form. So give me the Mets.
Yeah, no lines. I think it's going to be Charlie Morton. If ESPN is correct, I do think it might be Uncle Charlie for the Braves. I'm not the biggest Charlie Morton fan either.
Do we change his name to Grandfather Morton now?
He's been Uncle Charlie for years. Yeah, that's a great call. He has to be Grandpa Charlie at this point, but not really reliable on the road. We mentioned at the top of the show, Braves not playing well. Losers of 4 straight. They lost again today. They're not just scoring runs. I mean, the pitching has been okay. They're just not scoring runs to help
That's
out
been all year, though. They've had an issue offensively all year.
I mean, I don't know what's going on with them, but it's good for us Met fans. And, the Mets, they've been playing really good right now. They're scoring a bunch of runs. They're playing good baseball. Severino, he's been great at home. I think this is a good spot for the Mets. Get a little closer, close the gap a little on the Braves a little bit. I made the Braves a -110 favorite if it is Uncle Charlie. So +110 or higher, I'll probably take the Mets. Hopefully we get a big dog price at home.
So I think I might actually have to pivot a second because I just realized that they were playing a doubleheader. I knew that already for Wednesday. I did not realize the late game got postponed. I'm pretty sure the late game was supposed to be Chris Sale. I think. So Sale might pitch.
Yeah,
I think that's I didn't realize that game 2 got postponed. So you're probably looking at Sale against Severino. If I had to guess, they'll probably push Morton back to the next game. So I probably lean to the under in this matchup. So I don't know if you agree with that, but
no, I do. Chris Sale's much better than Charlie Morton.
No, I'm just saying with the game 2 being postponed, I'm assuming Sale's going to pitch tomorrow.
Is there a travel day as well for them?
Yeah. Well, they're playing in New York, so.
Yeah. No, I didn't know if the Braves were. Yeah, Braves are home. Okay.
Yeah, I mean they could travel earlier now in theory, but since the weather's so bad, I'm not sure they got out of where they were playing.
What time was that game supposed to start? Like right around now?
I'm not sure, actually, because I know that the early game was supposed to be like 12 or 1, and then I'm not sure if the other game was supposed to be like a 4 or 5, or if it was supposed to be like 7 or 8.
So it was supposed to, 6. So it says 6:05 start. So we'll see if it actually starts on time. But
they would have leave town already if the actual weather clears up. But point is, I'm assuming Sale's going to pitch in this game. So there we go. Moving on to the next game, you have the A's taking on the Angels. The A's, though, have been in good form. Not today, as they're getting their asses kicked right now, 8-1 by Houston. It happens, you can't win every game, but Oakland's actually been pretty feisty recently. For the matchup, though, this is actually the last game on the card, I should mention. You have Mitch Spence against Kenny Rosenberg, 2 fake-sounding pitchers. Spence has been around for a while. Rosenberg sounds made up. Point is, though, for the money line, you have -110 apiece. For the over-under, you have about 8.5. I'm going to ask you because the A's are really good at home and really bad on the road, and the Angels are bad everywhere. A's, though, are 5-4 this season against the Angels. What do you want to do? Because the Angels have won 3 straight, and the A's had been in good form, but, of course, they're going to lose today.
Real quick, we had a switch. Instead of Mitch Spence, it's going to be Ross Stripling coming back for the Athletics. So
add that to another guy that I forgot existed. I've been an anti-Stripling guy for a long time, so
since his Toronto days. I'm not in the business of backing either Rosenberg or Stripling. Stripling coming back from an injury, and this is Rosenberg's 3rd start, and 2 previous ones didn't look good. Between the 2 pitchers and how bad the Angels bullpen is, I think we're going to see some runs here. You were saying the the total's at 8. Is that correct?
I see 8.5.
8.5. Regardless, if it is these 2 pitchers, I made my total 9.2. The A's, they've been scoring some runs, 7.6 runs this past 5 games they're averaging. So they're scoring some runs. It's going to be windy out in Anaheim tomorrow night. Got winds blowing out, so help carry the ball a little. So I don't really care who wins. I'm going to root for a run. So, and we see another over in today's game. They're losing 8-1. So, I'm going to see an over here, over 8.
I think that I see some books have 9, but I see an 8.5 juiced on ESPN bet if you want to take that now.
Yeah.
Probably won't be there for that much longer. Rosenberg did pitch against the A's last outing, and he actually pitched well. 4 innings, 1 run, but we'll see how he does in this one. I'm not a Stripling guy. I don't think anybody is. That's why he's been on a bunch of different teams. I'm not sold on on him as a pitcher or Spence either, for that matter. So I like the over as well in that matchup. What percentage probability do you think Rosenberg is of being Jewish? 98%?
99.
99%? Okay.
Yeah, 99.
I'd probably agree.
Name, yeah.
I think it is, but maybe he fasted yesterday. Who knows? Anyway, point is, that's going to wrap it up for the actual 8-game card. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks and run picks, by the way. Can't forget about that. Before we get into any of those last couple of picks, do I want to remind you once again that we are brought to you by Rhythm, because Rhythm has a lot of great AI picks and props that you're missing out on potentially. They dominated the British Open, and their college football product is about to drop. Kind of crazy. College football starts in like 4 weeks, which is pretty crazy to think about. You can even customize your own betting model easily using Rhythm's tools. You can also claim a 7-day free trial today by going to sportscampodcast.com, sportscampodcast.com/RATHMM. We're also brought to you by Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. Circa Sports is back with Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Imagine the regret you'll feel if you win your office Survivor pool, but didn't enter the Circa Survivor. That is definitely a special type of bad beat. Don't have a trip booked yet for Las Vegas for football? Ultimate Cut this weekend's a great time to go. Hang out with Ryan and Sean and enjoy some of the open bar events of the world's best sports book from August 22nd through the 24th. Use promo code SGP15 to save 15% on your hotel room for sign-up weekend. Pretty solid deal. Sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy. Play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to give you $50 with the promo code SGP. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Just finished going through all 8 games for the Thursday card. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. Dylan, I'll let you go first. What are your lock and dog picks for the show?
All right, for my lock, boring one, but I'm going to take the Rangers here on the run line. Just continue to fade the White Sox and Jonathan Cannon on the road. I think they, like you said, are a double-A team. So let's going to take the Rangers here at home on the run line as my lock. And as my dog, I am going to fade Chris Bassett and the Blue Jays. I'll take the Rays here on the run line. Whatever you could get, it's going to be plus money. I think it's a pick-em price right now. Not sold on Chris Bassett. Blue Jays, I'm out on them as well. They have the worst bullpen in the American League. And Taj Bradley, like you and I both mentioned, has been really good. Kind of going under the radar as one of the best pitchers in the American League. So I like Taj Bradley. I think he's really going to be able to limit the bats of the Blue Jays. So going to take the Rays on the run line as my dog.
All right. So for my lock, I was hoping to get a first 5 spread. I can't find it. I was going to take it with the Padres, but I might have to pivot. So there's a couple things I am tempted by. I mean, you mentioned the Rays run one. I don't mind that as a dog too. I think for my lock, I really do want the Padres in some capacity, but I don't have any lines on it. So I think I have to pass on it for now. I think I
first 5?
I thought about the first 5 minus a half.
So I see first 5 -1, not minus a half. Same, I guess, kind of same thing, but you got to win by 2 instead of 1. It's at plus 200.
-1 for the Padres is plus 200?
Yeah.
I mean, that means I can give out minus a half in good faith because there's no way that's going to be like minus 160. So that's fine. Yeah, I'll do that. Give me the Padres minus a half in the first 5. I don't have a line on it, but it should be, if I had to guess, 130 range, something like that. Cease has been amazing. He's given up 2 hits combined in his last 2 starts. He shut down the Nationals a little while ago. Corbin, we know, has been better recently, but he still gives up contact, still gives up base runners, and I think that he should give up some runs. San Diego has been okay recently offensively, good enough to at least get something done in this matchup. So give me San Diego minus a half in the first 5 as my lock. For my dog, I mean, I like Bradley, but I don't want to take the same dog as you. That feels like cheating. I wanted the under in the Dodgers game, but do I go with an alt line of 7.5? I could do that in theory.
It's a risky bet.
It's a risky bet, but I really don't trust the Giants hitting. I mean, you look at how the Giants have been performing recently. I already read off the numbers offensively. They have a rookie who's homered in 5 straight games, and they still can't hit. Like, that's the crazy part. Is they have one guy in Fitzgerald who's homered in 5 straight games, and they still scoring about 3 runs per game. They just can't score. So I think I am going to do that. Give me an alt under. Give me the under 7.5 in the Giants and Dodgers game as my dog. So, yeah, I'm going to go bold with that one. But once again, we're kind of limited with 8 games, and we're missing lines on some of them. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, now it's time for the fun long shot play of the episode. Home run time. I know that I ended up hitting my one on over the weekend with O'Neill. Tried to run it back with Devers with the Red Sox. Unfortunately, I think he has 2 hits, and none of them are home runs. So hopefully he gets it done in the last couple innings. Dylan, I'll let you go first. Who's your home run pick?
All right. For my dinger, I'm going to go with one of the hottest batters in the league, Jeff McNeil. He had a game-winning home run last night against the Yankees, and ever since the second half of the season started up, he's been on fire, kind of like him, like that batting champ, Jeff McNeil. I don't know what happened. The first 88 games of the season, he only had 5 home runs. He's had 4 home runs in the past 5 games. 7 of his 9 home runs are against righties. And if it is Charlie Morton, he has some success. He has 2 home runs in his career against Charlie Morton. And, I just think he's seeing the ball really well right now. I like him at the bottom of the lineup. They're giving him pitches he could hit. So let's hopefully Jeff McNeil stays hot. So give me the squirrel, Jeff McNeil.
By the way, Trevor's telling me offshore that the Padres' first 5 3-way line, which is -0.5, is -122.
Oh,
so I'll take that. I think that's a good
yeah.
deal. So you're going McNeil, who
Yeah.
had a nice home run off Mets legend Tonkin yesterday.
Is it really Dinger? Are we going with Malcolm's name? So
I just put it up there because there's a banner for it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just said home run picks. I mean,
He's
I
gonna
don't
get mad
know
listening
I don't
to
know if it
this.
matters, to be honest, but it makes Mal happy when he sees the actual banner.
Yeah, it
So I
does.
just keep it up there. For my pick, I got to figure out which pitcher I want to fade. Because it's usually how I start this. I got to just find out who I want to go after. I mean, at first glance, I think Munoz is terrible. I mean, Corbin's been better recently. Cannon's been awful, but that involves trusting Texas as a lineup. I feel like I'm tempted by Gunnar Henderson in this matchup against Munoz. I want to quickly pull up his splits, though, righties versus lefties. I think Gunnar actually might hit a home run tonight because I think Cabrera stinks too. But, I mean, yeah, it's actually crazy his splits. Munoz against righties, 174 batting average. Against lefties, 302. On base percentage of 395. Yeah, give me Gunnar Henderson to get the job done here as my home run pick against Munoz. I think Munoz is not very good. Terrible against lefties. He's given up 10 home runs in 96 at bats against lefties this season. And we know Gunnar was in the home run derby. He doesn't want to talk about it because he was really bad. Shout out to the Scooby-Doo bat, though. But I am going to go with Gunnar Henderson to hit the home run in the Thursday game. Don't know what the price is going to be, but it shouldn't be that cheap. So just keep that in mind. Anything else you want to talk about, Dylan, or should we officially wrap up the show?
No, I think I'm pretty set. I mean, his performance was better than the girl who sung the national anthem. I mean, we could all admit that. So that's
the happiest person about the national anthem was Fergie from the NBA national anthem 10 years ago. But
flashbacks.
Yeah, if you know, you know. Anyway, until next time, you can find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. You can find him on Twitter at Rock with 2Ks24. Not sure who's doing the episode tomorrow. I'm trying to remember who.
I think it's me and Mao.
Okay, so I have an off day. Nice. I'll be doing a tennis episode later, though. Going out with my dad, though. It's his birthday. So
hey, happy birthday.
Yeah, I'll make sure that one of us doesn't drink too much because one of us has to drive home. And I believe my grandmother's going to be there, too. So maybe she can be the designated driver. Anyway, until next time, you know where to find us. Good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.